Most people moving to Greenville, South Carolina make the exact same mistake. They choose an area based on home prices, square footage, or whatever looked the best online. But then after moving here, they realize they picked the wrong suburb for their lifestyle. Because what almost nobody explains before you move to the Greenville area is this: not all Greenville suburbs feel the same. Some are family focused, high growth, and heavily suburban. Others feel slower paced, outdoorsy, and connected to mountain living. And then some feel newer, master planned, and convenience driven, while others feel more established, more local, and community oriented. And the crazy part is, all of these places are within driving distance of downtown Greenville, but they feel completely different from one another. So in this video, I'm breaking down what I personally believe are the 5 best suburbs around Greenville, South Carolina in 2026. But more importantly, I'm breaking down who each suburb is actually best for. Because by the end of the video, you're probably going to realize one of these areas fits your lifestyle way better than others. And honestly, choosing the right suburb around Greenville can completely change your experience living here. What's up, everybody? I'm Brian O'Neill, the Tattooed Agent. On this channel, we talk about what it's really like living in Greenville, South Carolina, and all the surrounding upstate areas, so you can figure out which communities actually fit your lifestyle before making a move. So if you're thinking about relocating to Greenville, Greer, Simpsonville, Travelers Rest, Five Forks, Mauldin, or anywhere around the upstate, make sure you subscribe because we drop a new relocation video every single week. All right, let's start out with one of the most popular suburbs around Greenville right now, and that's Five Forks, Simpsonville. For a lot of relocating buyers, this is exactly what they picture when they imagine living in suburban South Carolina. You immediately notice larger subdivisions, newer homes, community pools, playgrounds, sidewalks, sports fields, and families everywhere. This area feels safe, structured, and predictably family-oriented. A lot of buyers moving from out of state settle into the Five Forks area quickly because honestly, everything feels convenient. You've got restaurants, shopping, groceries, gyms, coffee shops, schools, youth sports, all within a short drive. Daily life here is built around convenience. And compared to areas closer to downtown Greenville, Five Forks feels significantly newer and more suburban overall. Now this is important though, because people are not typically choosing Five Forks for historic charm, walkability, or unique architecture. They're choosing it because it checks a lot of practical boxes for everyday life. Now, one thing buyers need to understand before moving here is that traffic becomes very real, especially around Woodruff Road, Five Forks Road, school pickup times, and weekends. The side of Greenville is exploding in growth over the last several years, and depending on your personality, that growth either feels exciting or exhausting. Some people love the energy, development, and convenience. Others eventually realize they underestimated how busy this area feels day to day, and this is true. That's why physically exploring Greenville before buying matters so much, because online, many suburbs look similar, but in real life, they feel completely different. Now, Simpsonville is one of the most balanced suburbs anywhere around Greenville, and honestly, that's a huge reason why so many families end up here. Compared to Five Forks, Simpsonville feels less intense, slightly less crowded, and a little more spread out overall, but you still get great convenience, newer communities, shopping, restaurants, and strong suburban infrastructure. What makes Simpsonville interesting is that it blends older, established neighborhoods, new construction communities, and a growing downtown area together. So depending on where you are, parts of Simpsonville can be very suburban feeling, semi-rural, or surprisingly community driven. A lot of relocating buyers like Simpsonville because it feels approachable. It's one of those suburbs where people can settle in quickly and feel comfortable almost immediately. One thing buyers often appreciate here is that you can still find neighborhoods with larger lots, few and far between, more spacing between homes, and a quieter feel compared to some of the higher density growth areas around Greenville. And for many families, that balance becomes a huge advantage. Now, similar to other growing Greenville suburbs, development is happening fast and everywhere here. You're seeing more rooftops, more commercial growth, and more traffic every year. But compared to areas like Five Forks, many buyers feel Simpsonville still has slightly calmer overall atmosphere. Greer is one of the most interesting suburbs around Greenville because it doesn't feel like one type of area. It honestly feels like multiple lifestyles blended together. Because depending on where you are, Greer can feel suburban, luxury-focused, semi-rural, high growth, or heavily community-oriented. You'll drive through older established neighborhoods, master plan communities, luxury developments, new construction, and rural pockets, all within a relatively short drive. One of the biggest advantages Greer has is location. You're close to GSP, the airport, BMW, I-85, Greenville, and Spartanburg. For commuters, that accessibility becomes a huge lifestyle advantage. And compared to neighborhoods closer to downtown Greenville, buyers often feel like they get more house, new construction, and stronger overall value here in Greer. Now here's what catches some buyers off guard. Certain parts of Greer are growing extremely fast. And because of that, traffic has increased, density has increased, and some newer communities feel more packed together than buyers initially expected, especially subdivisions where homes sit relatively close to one another. Some people love the active suburban energy. Others start realizing they wanted Greenville access without feeling surrounded by nonstop expansion. And the difference completely changes how people experience Greer long term. Travelers Rest feels completely different from Five Forks, Simpsonville, and Greer. The pace changes almost immediately. This area feels outdoorsy, mountain-driven, slower paced, and heavily lifestyle-driven. The Travelers Rest honestly sells a feeling more than almost anywhere around Greenville. You notice it right away. People are biking everywhere, coffee shops, families are walking Swamp Rabbit Trail, outdoor patios are full, mountain views sit in the background. For many buyers, this is the version of Upstate South Carolina they imagined before moving here. People choosing Travelers Rest are usually prioritizing outdoor lifestyle, mountain access, community atmosphere, less suburban intensity, and a slower pace overall. Now, one thing buyers often don't realize is that Travelers Rest itself is actually much smaller than many people expect. Downtown TR is charming, but it's not huge. And once you move away from the downtown area, things become more wooded, more rural, less walkable, and significantly quieter. For some buyers, that becomes the entire appeal. For others, it eventually feels too removed from the city life. Travelers Rest tends to create very strong opinions because people either deeply connect with the lifestyle or realize they personally need more suburban infrastructure and convenience. And visually, this area has far more natural character than many newer master plan suburbs around Greenville. You still get mature trees, mountain scenery, winding roads, and neighborhoods that feel integrated into nature instead of carved out of it. Now, Mauldin is one of the most underrated suburbs around Greenville, in my opinion. A lot of relocating buyers initially overlook Mauldin because it doesn't always get the same attention as places like Five Forks or Greer. But location-wise, Mauldin is incredibly strategic. You're close to downtown Greenville, Woodruff Road, I-385, shopping, restaurants, and major commuting routes. And for a lot of buyers, that convenience becomes a huge advantage day to day compared to some of the newer high-growth suburbs. Mauldin feels slightly more established overall. You'll see older neighborhoods, newer developments, local businesses, parks, and a stronger mix of longtime residents and relocating families. Now, visually, Mauldin doesn't necessarily have the same polished master plan feel as some newer suburban communities. But honestly, for many buyers, that's actually a positive. It feels more local, more practical, and less manufactured. Another thing that buyers tend to appreciate here is that you can often find better overall value relative to location compared to some of Greenville's hottest suburban markets. Now, obviously, every suburb comes with trade-offs. Some buyers eventually realize they wanted more nightlife, more walkability, more luxury style communities. But for buyers prioritizing convenience, commute, access, practical living, and strong location, Mauldin definitely checks a lot of boxes. Now, here's the truth about moving around Greenville, South Carolina. There is no universally best suburb. It completely depends on your personality, your lifestyle, your commute, your family setup, your budget, what type of daily environment actually feels right to you. The buyer who would absolutely love Travelers Rest might feel bored in Five Forks, and the person who loves Five Forks might think Travelers Rest feels too quiet. Someone prioritizing convenience and commuting might immediately gravitate towards Mauldin or Greer. And buyers wanting that highly suburban family atmosphere might feel most comfortable in Five Forks and Simpsonville. So that's why moving to Greenville can either feel like one of the best decisions you've ever made or a place that never fully feels right, because the lifestyle differences between these suburbs are massive. A house can always be renovated, But your daily environment, your commute, your routine, and atmosphere are much harder to change after you move. And that's exactly why physically exploring these Greenville suburbs before you buy matters so much. So overall, these are what I personally believe are the 5 best suburbs around Greenville, South Carolina in 2026. Now, if you're thinking about moving to Greenville or anywhere around the Upstate, reach out to me directly. My team and I help people relocate here every single week, and we would love to help you figure out which suburb actually fits your lifestyle best. And let me know down in the comments, which Greenville suburb would you personally choose?